Philip and I had one of those cliché business marriages. On the first day, he laid out some ground rules. Clear as day, he listed how often we needed to hug each week, how long we should hold hands, and the intensity of our kisses. At first, he stuck to the agreement to a T, like he was ticking off a to-do list. Later, he just crammed all our intimate tasks into Mondays. I assumed he was reluctant, thinking it was rip the band-aid off mentality. But I was surprised when I read in his journal. I've got to be an idiot. Why did I use up all the times yesterday? It's only Tuesday. 6 more days until I can hold my wife. How am I going to get through these 6 days? Me, huh? During the day, I couldn't find my car keys, so I took a cab to a client's place. Unexpectedly, it started pouring rain at night. I got back by cab, but it couldn't drive into the complex. By the time I got home from running at full speed, I was soaking wet. So, I grabbed some clothes and headed to the shower as soon as I got in. Passing by the study, I saw the light on. Philip must have been busy in there. In the shower, I rehearsed over and over what I was going to say to him. I prayed he wouldn't turn me down. It would be so embarrassing if he did. This was my first time asking him for a favor since we got married 3 months ago. After many rounds of practicing, I finally felt ready and turned off the faucet. I got myself together, hesitated a bit, and knocked on the study door. "Come in," a cool voice came from inside. I quietly opened the door and stepped in to see Philip sitting at his computer. His sharp features matched with those gold-rimmed glasses looked even more distant on this rainy night. "What's up?" he asked, looking up at me, his tone just as indifferent as always. "Can I borrow your computer?" I explained nervously. "My computer got a bit wet earlier, now it won't turn on. But I have urgent work to finish up. Would it be okay to use yours for now?" "Don't worry, I'll hand it back as soon as mine is fixed tomorrow." I was on edge. Computers are personal, after all. And Philip and I were basically strangers sharing a household registry. Chances were, he might say no. But luckily, after hearing me out, he said, "Sure, go ahead." He got up to give me his spot. The study was spacious, and so was the desk. He moved to the other side and picked up his phone, carrying on with whatever he was doing. I softly thanked him and sat down in his usual spot. I didn't want to take up too much time, especially since he was busy before. The thing is, his computer wasn't quite like mine, and I found it a bit awkward to use. I either typed the wrong numbers or opened the wrong websites. Later, trying to open a sticky note, I accidentally clicked on a live memo thing. There were tons of words scribbled there, probably stuff Philip jots down regularly. I didn't want to invade his privacy and thought I'd better close it. But as my cursor hovered over the close button, it got stuck. The text said, "May XX, 20XX. Called my wife tonight, offered to pick her up. She turned me down. Cried. Why would she not want me to come? My delicate wife in that rain. What if she caught a cold? Saw her dripping wet as she walked past the study. Clothes clinging on, she's got a great figure. I feel a nosebleed coming on. No, I shouldn't be like this. My wife wouldn't appreciate that. But, seriously, her figure's amazing. Yeah. I wanna hug her, really hug her." I stared, dumbfounded, at this screen full of the word wife and silly emoji attempts. I was a bit stunned. So, this is Philip's diary? And that wife, it's me? But doesn't he dislike me? Philip and I got married 3 months ago, in a typical business arrangement like you'd read about. Before the wedding, we met just 3 times. First on the blind date. Second to discuss wedding logistics with our families. Third when he took me to get our outfits tailored. Each time, we barely exchanged more than 5 sentences. And even those felt cold and detached. He never smiled at me. Every word was filled with impatience, as if begrudging this marriage. So when he set those ground rules on our wedding night, I wasn't shocked. That night, he sat distantly on the red-sheeted bed, listing the obligatory weekly intimacies for family appearances. Hand-holding, hugs, kisses, each with specified numbers, durations, and levels like a project plan. I couldn't object. As he said, it was best for both of us. So, from day 2, Philip strictly followed the checklist, hitting the numbers like some unwelcome chore. After 2 months, he suggested bundling everything on Mondays because it was too much hassle. I didn't oppose to that either. Yesterday was Monday. He came home at noon and kept asking me to help with tasks all afternoon whenever he got the chance. After finishing the last task with a forehead kiss at night, he turned straight into his study like he couldn't wait another moment to be away from me. But what was written in the memo? While I was still puzzled, new content showed up. I looked up to find Philip typing on his phone. He must have logged into the same account, syncing his phone and computer. Today, my wife came into my study for the first time. She smells so nice. I've decided I'll tell the housekeeper not to clean the study this week. And not to leave the door open. Otherwise, the smell will dissipate. And my wife's nightgown looks so good. The neckline is a bit low. Her skin is so white and soft. Looks so inviting. I want to bury myself in it. Reading this, my face got a bit warm. I couldn't help but glance at Philip again. He remained expressionless, even a bit stern. I couldn't connect him with the words I was seeing. Darn it. He's still writing. Can't let my wife see this. After typing that, Philip subtly moved his chair forward. Now I could only see his upper body. Perfect, now the smell's stronger. More new lines appeared in the memo. Just a little closer. Her scent becomes even more obvious. I really want to hold her. And kiss. Do things with my wife. Help, I can't handle this anymore. Why can't I show affection with my wife like every other man? What the heck is going through Philip's mind? I couldn't even look at these words. No, no, no. Philip, show some respect for your wife. Even in your imagination. After writing that, he sighed quietly. I lowered my head, not daring to look up. Do you need help? He asked, his voice a bit hoarse. No, it's fine. I got it. I quickly responded. All right. Philip replied softly, then lowered his head again. I shook my head, took a deep breath, and decided to close the memo and finish my work first. But just as I was about to click the mouse, new words appeared. Rejected by my wife a second time today. Why does she always turn me down? Those words felt a bit odd to me. Philip seemed like a big dog left out in the rain. Hey. So, I hesitantly said. I'm thirsty. Can you get me a glass of water? Hearing that, Philip looked up, still with a cold face. Sure. He said coolly, I'm a bit thirsty too. Thanks. No problem. He said as he put down his phone and tried to get up. But as soon as he moved, he sat back down. After a brief pause, he picked up a few books from the desk and got up again. I heard him exhale deeply when he closed the door. Here. In a few minutes, Philip came back and placed a glass of water in front of me. I reached out to grab it and noticed a slice of lemon inside. I've always liked lemon water at night. But since we got married, it's either been me or the housekeeper making it. Philip didn't know about this. Thanks, I said. Did the housekeeper not go to sleep yet? Philip was a bit surprised when he heard that, then nodded, yeah. He went back to his spot. It was still pouring rain outside. The study's balcony had many budding flowers. Raindrops hit the leaves with a tapping sound. We both worked under the rainy night. When I looked up again, Philip was reading a book. He had his sleeves casually rolled up. Having washed his hair, it didn't look as neat as it did earlier, but it added a lazy charm to him. Being focused on my work, I hadn't checked if he continued writing in that memo. Feeling a bit curious, I hesitated before finally opening it. The first thing I saw was 3 rows of crying emojis. Then, underneath, Philip had written, "I made the lemon water, but my wife thought the housekeeper did. Does she really think I'm useless and clueless?" Below those lines were more rows of crying emojis. Childish but vivid. I couldn't help but chuckle lightly. "What's so funny?" Philip looked at me, puzzled. "Nothing." I quickly hid my amusement. Just relieved to be done with work. I casually closed the memo and got up. "You can use this now. Sorry for holding you up." "All right." Philip stood up, paused, and reminded me seriously. "We have to go to the family house for dinner this weekend. Don't forget it." "Yeah, got it." I nodded and left the study. It was Philip's grandmother's birthday, so everyone would gather to celebrate. The following days, I was swamped with work, getting home late and barely crossing paths with Philip. By Friday, I was still working late. When I reached the family house, it was past 9. Most lights in the old house were off. As I was about to park quietly, the opposite door opened. I turned to see Philip. What's he doing here so late at night? He doesn't seem like he's out for a walk or anything. I mean, he looks ready for bed, already washed up and in his pajamas. "Why are you out here?" I asked as I got out of the car. Philip paused before replying, "Came out to take a call." "Let's go in." I nodded, not thinking too much about it, and went inside with him. After I finished washing up and came out, Philip was already lying on the bed, reading a book I'd never seen before. Seeing me come in, he put the book down and said, "Get some rest. There will be a lot of people at the house tomorrow." I nodded, got into bed. The bed here is an old-fashioned double bed, not as big as the one at our place. Lying down, the presence of the other person is impossible to ignore. At first, I felt a little uneasy, not daring to move much even when lying on my side. But Philip's breathing was steady. It seemed like he fell asleep right away, not bothered by the environment at all. Seeing that, I also gradually relaxed, and sleep started to creep in. Just as I was drifting off, I felt something move closer beside me. It startled me a bit, but then the movement stopped. The exhaustion washed over me again like a wave. "Wife." Just when I was about to fall asleep again, I thought I heard someone softly calling out. "Wife." The voice moved closer, as if it was right by my ear. It drilled into my ear canal, shivering my eardrum with the disturbed air. "I miss you so much." "Do you miss me?" The voice paused, then a low breath brushed against my neck. "Is work that important? You've been going out early and getting back late for days, leaving me at home alone." The voice sounded more and more aggrieved. "I can't hold you or kiss you anymore. Rose, baby." The words were messy, sometimes too quiet to hear clearly. They tangled around me like threads. I sleepily turned over a bit, trying to open my eyes to see who was talking. But when I looked, there was no one beside me. The bathroom, however, had a dim light on. Faint noises came from inside. Huh? Was it a dream? Lying there like a sleep paralysis victim, I was feeling puzzled when Philip walked out of the bathroom. "Why are you awake?" he asked, raising his eyebrows when he reached the bed. "I think I had a weird dream," I said, blinking hard. Philip looked at me for a moment, then got into bed. "Go to sleep." I nodded, closing my eyes again. Sleep returned quickly, and this time I didn't have the dream. "Half asleep," I vaguely heard Philip say, "half asleep and all cute," his tone laced with a soft laugh. There were a lot of family friends and partners around the house today. Everyone visited. Philip's father still managed the group, so most of the socializing fell on him. Being the heir, Philip had to get involved too. But I noticed he seemed distracted. He kept checking his phone, typing messages. I didn't ponder too much since Philip's mom had me chatting with some ladies. I wasn't fond of such gatherings back at the Shin family. But now I was married to Philip, so I couldn't avoid them. I didn't quite fit in, so I listened and only answered when spoken to. Hello, everyone. Just when I was getting bored, I noticed Philip approaching. He greeted everyone and then said to me, Rose, can you go upstairs to send an email for me? Sure, I replied. Philip nodded, apologized to everyone, and led me away. Send this email to the distributor, he said, forwarding me the info on my phone. Use my computer upstairs. Before I could respond, he was called away by his dad again. I went to the study, looked over the materials Philip sent, and sent out the email as he asked. As I was about to log off, Philip texted me, wait for their reply before coming down. This email is important. I texted back that it was fine and waited in the study. While it was noisy downstairs, the study was quiet, which I enjoyed. I picked up a book, flipping through it occasionally, and kept refreshing the inbox. Time passed until it was almost dinner when I finally received the reply. Heading downstairs to update Philip, I couldn't find him, so I went to the garden and saw him standing from afar talking to someone. I paused to wait for them to finish. Just then, Philip glanced over at me with a not-so-great look on his face. His usual cool demeanor never looked like this. Curious, I noticed the person he was speaking with turned and spotted me too. It was my cousin, Rose. As soon as he saw me, he left Philip and headed my way, calling me by name rather casually. When did you get back? I asked. Weren't you in Europe? My cousin isn't really the homebody type. He's traveled the world ever since he was an adult. He missed my wedding with Philip because he was off climbing Everest. I've been back for a while, he replied with casual laughter, as usual. Growing up with him like this, I didn't bother with his antics. I went ahead and asked, what were you guys talking about just now? My cousin turned to Philip and laughed, saying, it's a secret between us guys. I rolled my eyes and thought I'd just go straight to Philip. But before I could take a step, Philip turned and walked off in another direction. His back looked kind of determined for some reason. What was that all about? After that weekend, Philip started acting a bit odd. The first week, he spent way more time in the home gym than usual. He would work out there from time to time before, but now he was doing it a lot more. Nothing too weird about that. But on top of that, he started acting a bit off. Like, for a few days, he'd come out of the shower without wearing a shirt. That never happened since we'd been married. One night, I came home late from work. As soon as I walked into the room, there was Philip, wearing just a towel, stepping out of the bathroom. His hair was wet, water running down his neck onto his chest. There were even some droplets hanging around his abs. You're back, he said when he saw me coming in. Then he moved to the bed, fixing the sheets. His muscles tensed up as he leaned over. I looked at him and frowned. Have you been overworking yourself lately, huh? Philip looked confused. Why do you say that? I thought for a second and said, well, I've noticed you've been forgetting your pajamas after showering these past few days. Before he could answer, I reminded him, don't forget next time. It's much colder outside the bathroom. You'll catch a cold. At that, Philip paused. Though he was turned to the side, I could see his expression was a bit weird. Really, I said, thinking he didn't believe me, you could easily catch a cold. Okay. After a long moment of silence, Philip finally replied, got it. I'll remember next time. The next day, he didn't come out shirtless anymore. But he spent even longer in the gym. No clue why he suddenly got into working out. When I finished washing up and came out at night, I found him already in bed. You're home early today, he asked while pulling back the covers. Not much work today, I replied, casually glancing at him. It was just a random look, but I noticed his pajamas weren't buttoned. He was leaning against the headboard with a business magazine. His shirt open enough to show off his chest. What's up? He asked, putting down the magazine. I hesitated, then asked, did your button fall off? What? Philip frowned. Your shirt, I pointed out. Is the button missing? Should I sew it up for you? Philip always grew up in luxury, so I wasn't sure if he'd wear a shirt with a missing button. At my offer, Philip seemed surprised. Then, oddly, his face reddened, the blush creeping down his neck. "No need," he said, putting the magazine away and tucking himself under the covers. "I'll just toss it tomorrow." Just as I thought, he wouldn't wear flawed clothes. I didn't press the issue and turned off the light. In the dark, it seemed like his breathing next to me was different from usual. Philip wasn't going to the gym anymore. But then he started acting strange again. Our dinners were usually prepared by the housekeeper. But for a week after, I found him cooking when I came home. He'd quickly bring out dishes and urge me to sit and eat. "No busy work at the office?" I finally asked after seeing this happen a few times. Philip paused mid-bite. "What, you seem really free these days, even cooking dinner." "Oh, not much going on," he replied. "It's nice you're getting some downtime." "But isn't the housekeeper usually handling meals?" His hand seemed to hang in the air for a bit before he lowered it, saying, "Yeah. That's right." After that, Philip wasn't himself for a few days. No gym. No cooking. He seemed down, keeping to himself. He locked himself in his office when he was home. Sometimes I'd walk by and hear the keyboard clacking. Was he writing in a journal again? We were never super close, so I didn't pry too much. But he was acting so off lately. Plus, after reading his journal the other night, I couldn't get it out of my head. I'd catch a thread of understanding now and then, but it always slipped away in the mess of it all. So, even though it's not right to secretly read someone's journal, I decided to sneak another peek. On Friday night, I borrowed his laptop again. Just like last time, Philip cheerfully let me take his spot and moved to the other side. I nervously sat down in front of the computer, watching for any signs on his face. When I saw he was focused on his own stuff, I cautiously opened the memo. It's been almost a month since last time. The memo has a few new pages added. I flipped back to the date of that night and found the next day's entry. Just a little more, just a tiny bit more, and I wouldn't have held back last night. But can you blame me? The bed here is so small. Rose was sleeping right next to me, so close. I could see the little hairs on her earlobe. So soft and cute, I almost kissed her. Thankfully, I held back. If Rose found out, she might never want me again. But when I went to the bathroom later, I couldn't stop thinking about Rose. Damn, I feel guilty. Reading these lines, my eyes widened in shock. So that night wasn't a dream. And Philip went to the bathroom because of. Trying to keep it together, I scrolled further. Philip wrote. 202X, May XX. Made 3 plans today. Hope they work. Plans? What plans? Curious, I searched for plans on the computer. 3 folders popped up. They were named Seduce Rose Plan, Muscle Man Edition, Seduce Rose Plan, Win Her Heart, Start With Her Stomach Edition. The last one had a weird name, Seduce Rose Plan, Do Not Use Till the Last Moment Edition, aka Shame Edition. What does that mean? I wanted to open them, but they were locked. With no choice, I went back to the memo. 202X, May XX. I went out in just a towel. Rose looked at me and joked about me forgetting my pajamas. Is my body that unattractive? I didn't lose any abs. The pecs are still solid. Why doesn't Rose care at all? Oh well, if Rose doesn't like it, then it's not good enough. Tomorrow, more training. Train like there's no tomorrow if I must. 202X, May XX. I purposely left my shirt open for Rose to see. But Rose thought my pajama buttons had fallen. Why? Just why? Have I really gotten that old and unattractive? I used to get compliments just wearing a down jacket. Now, stripping down doesn't even get a blink from Rose. Do I really have no allure left? Or does Rose care more about what's below? I'm pretty confident there, but I can't just show Rose that. What should I do? No, Rose isn't that shallow. I've decided. Forget the Muscle Man plan for now, I'll start the food plan. 202X, May XX. I don't know what to say. I really don't. Today, I made Rose a meal. But she just asked if I had nothing better to do. What am I supposed to do? Seduction didn't work, neither did showing care or cooking. Nothing I do seems to make Rose care about me. But I can't give up. Some guy said he's coming after Rose, and I can't lose to him. But what more can I do? I've tried everything, yet Rose doesn't feel a thing. Am I really no match for that blonde kid? Why does Rose have such bad taste? Do I really need to use the final plan? The memo ended there, written 3 days ago by Philip. After reading it, I felt all mixed up inside. Of course, it was hard to digest. And who is this blonde kid? Where did this blonde guy come from? While I was trying to make sense of it, my phone rang. It was my cousin. He said he was leaving tomorrow and asked if I could see him off at the airport. He also mentioned he was out of suitcase space and asked if I could bring one over since he didn't have time to buy another. I asked if one would be enough, and he said yes. I agreed and hung up. When I looked up, Philip was staring at me with an unreadable expression. What's up? I asked. Philip opened his mouth as if to say something, but after hesitating, he just said it was nothing. That night, he stayed busy in the study. Even when I fell asleep, he hadn't come back. The next day was the weekend. I found the study door closed, which was odd since Philip usually left it open when he wasn't in there. This meant he'd been in there all night? I went downstairs to ask the housekeeper, who said they hadn't seen Philip that morning, and the study door hadn't opened once. I decided to bring some soup to Philip. Opening the door, I saw Philip at the computer, looking exhausted. Did you stay up all night? I asked. He said he had, his voice a bit hoarse. I nodded. The housekeeper made some ginseng soup. Have some. Philip took it, muttering thanks. Okay, I'm gonna go pack. I turned to leave. Rose. Philip called out. Are you heading out later? He asked awkwardly. Yes, why? Philip looked at me for a bit, but ended up saying nothing. All the suitcases at home are in the closet. I went in to find mine, but they're all pretty small. I thought about it and decided to ask Philip if I could borrow one from him. I could just buy him a new one later. But just as I was about to leave, someone suddenly popped out and pushed me back inside. He pushed me to the back of the door, trapping me in the corner. I looked up and saw Philip staring intently at me. Wah. What's up? We're rarely this close, and it made me a bit nervous. Rose, Philip said hoarsely, his eyes a scary shade of red. Do you like me like this? Huh? I was confused. Philip didn't say anything, just kept staring. Then, I realized what he meant. Since we met, he's always been in formal attire, hair perfectly groomed. But now, he was in lazy workout gear, a look I'd never seen. I'll dye my hair later, he said once he noticed I noticed. I'll try to look more like him. He looked at me pleadingly, his face close. His beautiful eyes were misty, and his voice was shaky when he said my name. Don't go. He moved closer cautiously, bringing a wave of strong, masculine energy with him. Just as he was about to kiss me, he turned his head slightly. A kiss, feather light, landed on the corner of my mouth. As soon as the kiss landed, I suddenly understood something. Since reading Philip's notes last night, I'd been trying to figure out what he wrote. It was too scattered, which kept me confused all night. But now, connecting the dots, I kinda got it. Did you misunderstand something? I asked, testing the waters. Philip's face fell instantly, like he'd hit rock bottom. Even the corners of his eyes drooped vulnerably. No. I mean. Seeing he misunderstood again, I quickly explained. I mean from before. That guy at Grandma's birthday party was my cousin. What? His previously dim eyes suddenly lit up with hope. I paused, then continued, Sorry. I accidentally saw your notes. I felt guilty, so I looked away. I saw a lot of stuff. I guessed you might have misunderstood. That was my cousin. He's been a troublemaker since he was little. So, I'm guessing he said some nonsense to you that day. Also, I was packing because he needs a suitcase. I'm gonna bring it to him later. I felt like I'd explained everything as simply as I could. But for a long time, the person in front of me didn't say anything. I couldn't help but look up and met Philip's intense gaze. He stared hard, tightly, not letting go. Sorry. I thought he was mad I invaded his privacy, so I quickly apologized. I didn't mean to. But he cut me off. What do you think? He leaned in closer, pressing me against the cold wall. He bent slightly, locking his eyes intensely on mine. Rose, Philip's voice was even huskier. Now that you know what kind of person I am, what do you think? Before I could finish a word, he silenced me with a searing kiss. Rose, don't reject me. Muffled words floated in my ear, tantalizing in the closet corner. Babe. Philip held me tightly, taking my last breath of air, and said, okay? Okay. I don't remember exactly when we got back to the bedroom. All I remember is my phone ringing non-stop at some point. Philip, annoyed, picked it up, and when someone over there shouted sis, he cut them off, handle it yourself. He hung up irritably, pulled me back into his arms, and even though I tried to resist, all he said was, call me an idiot then. He kissed me again after saying that. The next time I opened my eyes, it was raining outside. I turned over and saw Philip smiling at me. We hadn't been married long, but I rarely saw him smile. Even if he did, it was always a formal, business-like smile. Right now, though, his eyes were filled with infectious joy, like a kid finally getting a piece of candy to take to school. Babe. As soon as he saw I was awake, he came closer, kissing my forehead. Have you been awake long? I asked lazily. Yeah, for a bit. Hungry? I shook my head. Philip wrapped me in his arms, holding me close. What were you doing? I asked casually, not expecting Philip to suddenly look all embarrassed. You don't want to tell me? No. He buried his face in my neck. I went to write in my journal. Talking about the journal made me a bit uneasy. Philip's journal had been too vivid and full of feelings. Yet I couldn't help my curiosity. What did you write? Can I see? He hesitated, then finally said, if you read it, will you still love me? This was our first time talking about love. For a second, I was frozen. Babe, he lifted his head, watching me carefully. I didn't want him to misunderstand. He's got a wild imagination, so I quickly said, I've seen it already. A long time ago. Okay. Relieved, he unlocked his phone and handed it to me. As soon as I looked, I saw a screen full of smiley emojis, boldly announcing his elation. I couldn't help but smile and kept scrolling. Wife smells so good. So soft. Kissing is so good. Philip, what did you do to deserve this? I love my wife so much. She never says no to me. No. Reading that, I was confused about the ellipsis at first. But then I sensed the person holding me tensing up, and I finally got it. You. I shoved the phone back at him, feeling a bit embarrassed. You're really. Philip, like a big friendly dog, pressed against me, giving me kisses and snuggling into the soft mattress with me. I can't help it. Rose, I love you so much. I fell for you the moment I first saw you. So, I quickly accepted our arranged marriage. Even though I wasn't fully prepared, I had to move the wedding up. Just so I could have you by my side sooner. Then, I selfishly set those rules, using some fancy words just to have more chances to be close to you. I can't help it. He said, nuzzling into the crook of my neck. I know I'm being difficult. Babe, I just love you so much. Please don't leave me. The first time I remembered. Back then, Philip seemed so cold and distant, barely saying a word. Who would have thought that under that tree, his heart was moved by the wind? It wasn't just me. The rain outside kept falling. But Philip's embrace was warm, transforming that end of winter chill into the first hint of summer.